on the 2014 season. In the water right now, reigning world champ Mick Fanning up against the Brazilian Gabriel Medina. Fanning finds a foamy one, able to throw a little tail, move it sideways as he stays with it. Quick climb, taps off the top, and a big wrap. Going through a little bit of a bounce section there, but Fanning staying with it. Looking out the back, seeing if anything better is on tap, and he kicks out.
Well, I love the chess match.
As Medina, on his backhand, almost loses it and goes vertical on the second hit. And a quick kick out for Medina. So 2 waves right out of the gate for Gabriel Medina and Mick Fanning.
You saw Mick Fanning there, had the inside on that first wave, almost gave it up. It was sort of a, that's what I meant by chess match there, really eyeing each other up, because at the start of these man-on-man heats, nobody has priority. So it's sort of free-for-all. Mick Fanning got that wave and clicked off a couple real solid moves.
In earlier rounds, we were talking about Gabriel Medina in terms of the natural ability giving him confidence and everyone's expectations. And then after he had the success winning San Francisco back in 2011, do you think that's something that resonates as we look back on Mick's first wave?
Yeah, you can see Gabriel gave it a long look, almost mushing that wave down a little bit for Mick. And this is where he got busy. Big old fin release snap in that soupy bowl there. And this is where the wave starts to clean up, vertical snap. Watch how powerful this carve is. Snap right back into the whitewash. And he's gonna throw one more. Such a strong surfer as the wave fizzles out. A couple of solid nice solid start there for Mick Fanning.
So I was mentioning that success that Medina had, obviously the win in San Francisco 2011 and the Quicksilver Pro France. Does it change things once you've had the wins coming into your second, your third season as Medina, things staying active out in the lineup? Medina, big hit off the top, right into that float section, makes it around, another hit, loses the fins, swings it all the way around, and Medina hanging on to it, doing a good job staying with the ship, and he's out.
And that's that flare that we were talking about from Gabriel Medina. If he's gonna take down Mick Fanning, he's gonna have to rely on that extra gear that he has over him, which is up in the air above the lip surfing. You can see he's just gonna make his way to the channel so he can hop on a ski, get back to the top. The only thing that was a bit of a bummer there for Gabriel Medina is that wave didn't quite link up through the inside.
Well, the 20-year-old Brazilian Gabriel Medina up against the reigning world champ, 32 years old, and very focused in this heat. As check in with Rosie Hodge, who's with, obviously, I would assume, a happy Taj Burrow. Rosie?
Yeah, Pat, well, Taj, 17th year on tour. This is one of the waves that you do consistently well at. Into the semifinals, how are you feeling?
Oh, I feel great, for sure. That was a kind of a sketchy heat. Even though I was in a pretty good lead at the end, I didn't feel that comfortable with my performance, just because neither of us really ever got one of those perfect little runners. I felt like we're kind of forcing scores out of kind of mediocre waves. That's how I felt. I didn't really see a perfect one come through, but really happy for sure. I mean, semi-finals was great. I just hope that my next heat's a little bit better. Like really, lots of good ones to choose from.
And we saw you catching up with Johnny just after that heat. What kind of things does he say to break down your heat?
He just said, "Well done, well served," and he said there kind of wasn't much other than what I chose, and just made me feel good about it, I guess. But no, he's good.
Well, we look forward to seeing you in the semifinals, hopefully coming up a little bit later.
Okay, thank you.
Back to you, Pat.
Thanks, Rosie. Yeah, great surfing from Taj Burrow as we check back in with Mick Fanning. Drives a big one off the top, wraps it, taking big lines. Quick foam climb, waiting for it as he stalls it back, fades it back into the section, staying into that pocket. And another wrap as Mick Fanning trying to build on top of that 5.17 as scores dropping. And this one taking his time as it dies out as he approaches the ski. Very patient, very calm approach so far for Mick Fanning, Ross.
And just sticking to, I know that wave dictated those maneuvers, but Mick really sticking to that carve game that he's so good at. And keep in mind here, Pat, you can elaborate a little bit, but this is sort of a rematch from their final in France, where Mick got the better of Gabriel. And this is what I mean by sticking to his bread and butter. Nice long carve there for Mick Fanning. He's going to take advantage of that section right there by hitting it vertically. And this is where the wave really flattens out. So he's relegated to doing round cutbacks. That's not going to score too huge for the judges. They want to see that clean open face where he can attack. This is a little better section right there, and that's a nice off the lip. But that being said, this wave overall, pretty average.
So Mick Fanning, as I pointed out, trying to stack something of a worthy score on top of that 5.17, looking back at Medina's wave.
This is that flare I was talking about. Look at all that spray. Tons of speed. He's got so much spring in his surfing. It looks like he's going to take to the air on any given move. There, he couldn't resist there, just spinning around. But the wave got too far ahead of him and he couldn't make up the ground. And we're going to slow it down for you. And this is where he just releases the tail, breaking the fins free. Very low to his board. You can see him putting his hand on the deck there for stability. Floats it all the way around. He makes it look so easy. He's got one of the, him and Kelly Slater, I would say, have the best balance out of anyone on tour. They're like acrobats.
Well, I've seen Medina, literally, it's like a cat being thrown out of a window, how he's able to find his feet on some of the aerials and obviously float sections that he's able to come out. And that case in point right there. However, judges giving that a 4.93, so Medina needing a 6.91 or better. Fanning with a 5.17, 6.67. Scores coming in for his third wave will not better his account as we look at 22:15 on the clock here in quarterfinal number 2. Winner moves on to the semifinals. See Mick's mom been here all week. Just a huge, I would say, support device for, I think, everyone here, not just Mick.
Yeah, Liz is great. She is like everybody's mom on tour. She's so friendly. I know we've enjoyed a juice or two at her, fresh vegetable stand there behind our hotel. So great addition to the tour there, so to speak. With she's like everybody's mom. She's so friendly.
So getting way back to my point, I was throwing up the question of Medina and people's expectations of him. Now that he has CT wins, do they expect him to continue to win? Is it still on the record?
Definitely,
yeah.
Especially for an athlete like Gabriel Medina. He has so much confidence and he's extremely competitive. So I think once he tasted those victories, he wanted more in every single event. He really expects that out of himself.
Mick Fanning on his fourth wave, big bottom turn as he throws it up top, able to navigate a very sketchy section, throws a little tail on that second hit, wraps it back into the pocket. Fattens up a little bit as Fanning showing his patience, trying to hop to that inside section, get that lower runner, and you see right there as he drops down into it, stands up nicely. Quick check, continuing down the line, wraps it back again. And Fanning signaling for the jet ski.
And one thing Mick Fanning might draw upon with that final they had in France is he got the jump on Gabriel Medina by carving and doing a lot of rail work.
As Medina up, big vertical crack, floats it, staying out in front. Another floater section, gets a little air on the drop back in, and he's down. So Medina digging deep, trying to answer Fanning's charge, looking for a 7.01 or better.
Again, Gabriel Medina just catching those waves that extend out way too far in that inside bowl, not giving him those extra couple of moves.
Well, you saw stepdad Charlie there. Obviously, always very stoic. Rarely will you get a smile. Maybe when only when Medina's on the podium.
He's maybe more intimidating than Gabriel himself.
Yeah.
As we see Gabriel stab that first turn. Nice wicked maneuver there, floating over the top, gathering all that speed. Another great floater maneuver, but unfortunate for him, this wave just goes way too out far in front of him, and he has nowhere to go. So here we have Mick Fanning, sort of a Taj Burrow turn right there, kicking the tail out, regaining control. There's a lot of bump on this wave, but he deals with it very well, staying right over the top of his board. He's got such good balance and poise throughout these maneuvers. Two big turns, but you can see just how fat this wave gets on the inside.
So a little bit of a Huntington hop. I guess you call that a snap tap here.
Well, a little
Yeah.
bonus section for Mick, and he's going to stab it. Again, sticking to the carve game. Again, that got him the win in France. He knows that he doesn't have to go to what Gabriel's good at, is, you know, aerials. He's just going to stick to the power.
And the power paying off for Mick Fanning. Scores dropping 7.2. Now Medina needing an 8.94. So the reigning world champ looking solid here in quarterfinal number 2 as the minutes wind down. Stay with us. You are watching the Quicksilver Pro presented by the Bank of Queensland. In the water right now, men's quarterfinal, heat 2, and we see Mick Fanning on just a reeler.
And this is on the inside. Just look how big this wave is as he floats up and over, just missing Gabriel Medina. Big climb there. Again, this wave nice and wide on the sandbar, but it's going to regain some steepness right here as it hits well past the Little Marley section. Great rebound there off that long extended cutback. Mick Fanning just being relentless, building score after score. Realizing that Gabriel's not in sync with the ocean, Mick just seems to be catching all the good waves out there as he comes unstuck, not before gathering a lot of big moves.
Well, Mick Fanning illustrating you do not need an air game. Obviously, he's won world titles without that. It's that rail-to-rail game, and you were pointing that out earlier, just how he's sticking to the tactics, reading the conditions, and doing the surfing that lends itself to the conditions at hand rather than forcing it.
Literally winning world titles with that surfing. I mean, how could you go against that? So he's going to stick to that power game. He knows what Gabriel is capable of. He knows that he can be a high-flying circus act, but he's not going to get sucked into it. He's just going to stick to that power.
And what I love about Medina last year, I mean, showing everyone that he does have big wave. He had showed prowess at pipe. Obviously, the full package, Medina, a lot of people are saying he's maturing. He's knowing, or I should say learning how to take the losses and learn from them. He's getting smarter as a competitor.
Gabriel Medina is underrated in terms of hollow waves like Pipeline and Chopu. I think he's extremely deadly in those kind of waves. He's very good. Great wave selection. He knows how to pick those waves that are in his wheelhouse where he can knife a late drop and make a great score out of the barrel.
So permission to get critical about Medina, what does he need to do differently right now? Are there limitations in his repertoire, or in terms of what Mick is able to do on the board? How can he combat against that?
I can see on your screen right there, real quick there, Pat, Mick unhappy with that last score, 6.8 dropping for that long wave.
And Medina, this one stands up, and you can see him getting a little cover up. Can Medina make it out? Wow, and Medina cannot. Looked like for a moment that he was able to punch through that. We've seen that on a couple of those just small tubes on the inside. These guys have been able to push through. Medina had some good speed. Thought he could make it out. Unfortunate for Medina, who's hunting a 7.57.
Well, these barrels on your backhand are very tight, critical. They're hard to navigate on your backside.
Well, we've been talking a lot about Gabriel Medina and everyone's expectations about him. For more on that, we sit down and talk Klein.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. And not just on speaking specifically about Gabriel, but backsiders in general, goofy footers. The history here at the Quicksilver Pro does not fare well for the goofy footers. Looking back all the way till 2002 in the inception of the Quicksilver Pro, our first finalist as a goofy footer, Corey Lopez got second. 2003, Aki got second. Our only winner in the history of this event as a goofy footer, Michael Lowe. Ronnie,
well,
crazy stats.
Crazy stats. The other interesting thing is there isn't a surfer on the World Tour at this stage that has ever cracked the semi-finals here. In fact, the last semi-finalist, a goofy footer, was Bobby Martinez. He achieved that feat twice as a rookie in 2006 and again in 2010. And my theory is that Bobby Martinez had the kind of backside carves that could rival what the frontsiders could do out here. And I think Gabriel Medina has probably been the most recent addition with that explosive backhand, and he could be super dangerous for Mick Fanning. And here he goes. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Blakey. Medina hunting for that 7.57, gets a little caught up behind on this section, still trying to get out. He makes it as he eyes the section, able to hit it, gets vertical again, throws it, hangs onto it, and he's done.
Wow, Gabriel Medina, again, a lot of nice taps there on his backhand, but unfortunate that inside section closing down on him yet again. So just a couple of extra moves shorted on that inside section.
And reigning world champ Mick Fanning patrolling the lineup on top, leading by 2.64. And Medina still hunting that 7.57, under 13 on the clock. Men's quarterfinal number 2. And score starting to drop for Medina. 5.73 will better his situation, now only needing a 7.57.
Yeah, so he's well within this heat. 7.57 is no big deal for Gabriel Medina. He's so explosive. That's why we saw Mick Fanning splash in the water just earlier. He really wanted to capitalize on that wave and get a big score, only getting a 6.8, realizing the door is still open.
How do you wrestle with that as a former competitor? You're in the water, you think you've had your best wave, and the judges just aren't seeing it the way you see it.
I tell you what, I don't think it happens very often for Mick Fanning. You know, he's so good. Usually the judges have no choice but to give him a great score. So it's pretty rare to see him disappointed, you know, when they call out a score like that. So we're going to pick it apart here.
There's the 6.8.
This is a 6.8. Look at the size of this wave. Nice and big gaff at the top, showing that commitment. Another float. This is a very functional move out to get down the line. So much speed off the bottom there. Beautiful bottom turn. Another vertical off the top there, climbing a whitewash. But this is where the wave gets kind of funky. Goes for a nice long cut back, great rebound there. And then it builds back up for Mick. Another round carve. And another round carve. So maybe the judge feeling Mick was being too repetitive, sticking to those cutbacks, but really the wave sort of dictated his surfing there, not allowing any critical sections. And you can see the disappointment.
The focus of Mick Fanning, you can never question his commitment and hunger to do well, especially here at Snapper. We always talk about the integral connection between shaper and surfer. As we see, looks like Mick way behind on a section, quick in and out. As we send it down to Pete Mell, who's with an integral force in Mick Fanning's life.
Yeah, thank you very much. So down here with Darren Hanley and shaper of obviously Steph Gilmore, who's already into the final. Mick Fanning in the heat right now, looking pretty good. So you must be pretty happy with the way the event's going so far?
Yeah, I mean, Steph in the final, that's fantastic. But Mick's up against Gabriel, and he only needs, what does he need, a 7.5. So Gabriel's been on fire here, but, you know, Mick's been surfing, you know, amazing in that last heat. So I just hope it keeps on going.
And tell me what you guys have been working on specifically for this year or in this event on your board design.
Mainly on, you know, we've been trying to mix it up, make the boards a little bit different. Still kept with the same model, the Ducks Nuts, but we've actually used a tail on Jay Phillips's old board, and so we've used a bit of Jay Phillips's local knowledge and Mick Fanning's local knowledge, and we've mixed them together, and that's what Mick's riding right now and doing quite well on it.
Well, there you have it from the man himself, shaping boards for, of course, Steph Gilmore and Mick Fanning, and doing a good job of it. Thank you for spending the time to talk to me. Back to the action in the water.
Thanks, Pete. Yeah, earlier in the week we heard from Steph that she basically asked to have Mick's board copied. Obviously it's working for Mick, and she's finding that same template, the magic mix of rocker. As we saw Medina up on a wave before that, and once again behind, really trying to find his rhythm, and surprising, he's behind on a lot of sections, Ross.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're starting to see why it's so rare to have a backsider do well at Snapper Rocks. And the disadvantages was very visible on that last wave from Gabriel Medina. He had so much speed. He's one of the most talented surfers on the planet, and he still just got a tiny rail clipped on the whitewash as he was trying to make ground to get out in front.
And Stephanie Gilmore, she awaits for her final matchup with Bianca Batendag as 11-time world champ on the right of her. Kelly Slater awaits for his quarterfinal matchup up against 2013 Rookie of the Year Nat Young. So both surfers probably getting a little insight how conditions are changing as the day winds to a close here for both the Quicksilver Pro for the men and the Roxy Pro for the women. 8:45 on the clock.
Well, you can see Mick Fanning paddling against that rip. The tide's changing right now. He's battling to get his way back out there. You can see a little bit of agitation from Mick, which is rare, but keep in mind, he is actually leading this heat. Gabriel Medina, such a dangerous surfer, needing that 7.57. Mick's well aware how capable Gabby is.
And I was making mention of that round 5 heat matchup with Nat Young and Kelly Slater. Slater, following this quarterfinal matchup, will be up against ADS, Adriana de Souza, and that is going to be a grudge match for sure, Ross.
Spicy. You know, that's going to be some drama. Definitely want to tune in for that heat as well.
They have a long, I would say, history of back and forth, and sometimes not going Slater's way.
We might see Kelly turn dark. You know, he could get very moody in that heat. He's going to want to take that heat out.
So 7:45 on the clock. Gabriel Medina still needing a 7.57. Priority sits with Fanning. And Medina been trying to find the flow and just can't seem to get the waves that we saw him in earlier rounds. When he's on point, he's connecting.
Well, until that last wave.
Yeah.
He definitely made a mistake. That was his first. I mean, those the handful of waves he had prior, there was nothing he could have done. The wave just closed out. But that last one, he was on to a really good score, a couple of big moves, and that wave provided a long section in front of him, and he dug a rail and fell. So that was his first crucial mistake.
And Medina grabbed a second at the 2013 Quicksilver Pro France. Had some success. Slight injury, obviously, last year. And then many people are speculating, is it affecting his style? He had that leg break. Obviously not an easy thing to bounce back from.
Yeah, I think he looks good. I can't see any hindrance at all from his injury. And Gabriel Medina surfs a lot like a snowboarder. He looks like he has a neutral stance. His knees are sort of bowed out, which makes him so good at landing those big airs. You know, he's got that spring-loaded stance where he just can land everything.
And haven't seen a lot of opportunities, not a lot of ramps offering up for Medina. He's been keeping the rail on the water so far. And he'll definitely have to dig a little deeper into his bag to go up against Mick Fanning, who's sitting on a 7.2 and a 6.8. All Medina needs is 7.57.
Well, 6 minutes to go. You can see these guys out there rubbing shoulders.
And Medina, quick look, and he's out.
Well, he knows Mick Fanning has priority, so he was trying to bait him into that wave. Mick is way too savvy for that, realizing that was not a keeper.
Stepdad Charlie looking more concerned as we wind down nearing the 5-minute mark.
Well, I mentioned his first real mistake in his heat. And look how good he got off to a start there. Big lip climb there. So he's off to a great start, and you can see him trying to get in front. Right here, he's going to try and grab his rail into that and just caught the whitewash on that inside rail there. So a huge mistake there. On his backhand, it's extremely difficult to make up that ground, where surfers on their forehand can cover much, a longer bottom turn arc to get out in front.
Gabriel Medina, you're seeing a very frustrated Medina at this point. And just way behind once again, able to get vertical 12 o'clock on that rail grab bottom turn, throws it up again, releases. Big wrapping cut. Medina on one of the best waves he's had all heat against Mick Fanning. Wraps it. And big quick foam climb as you see Medina working his way down the line. Another big hit, and that is how you want to finish.
I'll tell you what,
Wow.
That was under Mick Fanning's priority. That is going to eat Mick Fanning alive from the inside. He knows that he might have made a brutal mistake there.
And hearing the cheers, obviously Fanning knows Medina just laid down a serious score.
And that's the contrast of styles. You know, we see Mick Fanning surfs so on rail, whereas Gabriel Medina attacks on his backhand. He's going to stab this lip several times, stinging it like a killer bee. Right there is his first one, and a second one, up and over, sort of hucking the fins out the back. So the judges are going to love that commitment. Keep in mind, this is under Mick's priority. He let this wave go. Slowing down, wiping off some speed. Again, there's that vertical attack for Gabriel.
And Mick Fanning right behind Medina, answering the call. Massive wrap. Big crack off the top, goes vertical. Driving, cover up, and he can't come out. And scores coming in for Medina. 9.4. Reigning world champ. Mick Fanning now needing an 8.64 as Slater gets ready to do battle up against Adriana de Souza.
Well, Kelly gathering a good luck kiss from his girlfriend, Kalani. Unbelievable score there for Gabriel Medina, 9.4, well over the score he needed. Under Mick Fanning's priority, mind you.
Under priority, highest score of the day, 9.4. Medina just unloaded.
And as Gabriel is bouncing his way on the back of that jet ski back to the top of the point, we're gonna watch and see exactly how he gathered 9.4 points. Again, look at that commitment, stabbing that backside attack that judges love to throw scores at that type of move. It's critical, it's in the pocket, it's not a round carve, it's very visible. It shoots a lot of spray up into the sky. This is a big wave all the way through the inside, another lip climb. Right in a critical part of the section, and he finishes it with a big float. So Gabriel Medina is gonna get one up on the champ, maybe some revenge from their last matchup in France.
Well, with a 9.4, as I pointed out, the highest score of the day, claiming, yes, I just got it done. Fanning now in a do-or-die situation with 2 minutes on the clock here in men's quarterfinal number 2. Winner moves on to the semifinals. Fanning needs an 8.64 or better. And it just shows you how aware Mick has been this entire heat. His frustration with not getting that score. He knew what Medina is capable of. And as we see Kelly Slater, little pre-quarterfinal matchup meditation as he gets ready to face battle with Adriano de Souza as Russell bestowing the good vibes once again.
Well, Kelly Slater always has that little ritual he does before his heats where he sort of crouches down, puts his head down. I think for me, I'm guessing it's to clear his head of any noise. He wants to go out there as a blank slate so that he can really free up his surfing.
There's been some great back and forth with these two over the past 3 years, but I'll tell you what, if Medina gets the edge on Mick this time, this is going to be one of the bigger upsets. Reigning world champ coming in to the quarterfinal round of Snapper this year. Mick Fanning was looking completely on point, nothing out of step.
And Gabriel Medina has priority. So not only is he in the lead, but he can play tactics as well.
As we look out to the horizon, nothing on tap as we can tell. 40 seconds left for Mick Fanning.
And there you'll see Gabriel Medina is on his inside, hovering Mick Fanning, shadowing him, making sure he doesn't give him an inch. So he's got a stranglehold advancing to the semifinals.
And Fanning just missing the finals last year. Came down to Parco and Kelly. He held down Akira. Kelly grabbing the win. You can see Fanning checking the clock, and it doesn't bode well for him. 15 seconds left. And let's see if stepdad Charlie there cracks a smile.
No smile for us.
If Medina makes his way out once it's official.
Oh, there's the fist pump.
And there it is. It is official. After the horn, Fanning takes one in. But Gabriel Medina, what a clutch heat he served, dropping down the highest wave score of the day.
Minus on a smile.
So Medina onward and forward. His title hope still alive. 11-time world champ Kelly Slater takes to the water after this.
Do you like that? Well, if so, subscribe over there and then watch more videos over there. And then tell us your favorite videos down there. It's a 3-step process. Do them all now.